Hello and welcome to Sideways. This week we're talking about the conclusions we draw about things and people long before we've gathered enough information to form an accurate opinion. We're discussing how damaging it is for us and others and what we can do to change it. Martin comes clean about misleading me. We identify Julia Roberts as someone particularly familiar with premature assumptions, and we agree on the wisdom of avoiding leopards, especially if they've been drinking. It's our last episode for this year, and we hope you all have a peaceful transition into 2022. Judging books by their covers.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
Yeah, you didn't stay up all night to watch the cricket then, I assume?
No, I didn't, because I prefer my sleep. And anyway, I don't have a subscription to BT Sport. They should stick to telephones. That's what they do, isn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, yes, you've had a good Christmas and that, I assume, mate.
Very nice. How was yours?
Sound. It all seems to go so quickly, doesn't it? Now we're in that awkward period between Christmas and New Year, which is I never like it much because I do my tax return, and I have to do the corporation tax return for the charity and that sort of thing. It's ag.
Obviously, I've been organised and done my tax return already, so I don't have to worry about that. But I find that kind of sense of peace and calm between Christmas and New Year quite cathartic.
Yeah, perhaps I should do my tax return earlier in the year to get it out of the way.
Exactly.
It's always been traditional. I do it between Christmas and New Year. It's not due until the end of January, I know, but it's when I tend to do it.
Anyway, I don't suppose you wanted to talk about taxation today, did you?
No, I want to.
It'll begin to sound like the Today programme if we go on talking about that.
It's awful, isn't it? Yeah, no, quite. Well, at the end of each episode, you do a little bit, and you say, we ask people to contact us if there's anything they'd like covered. It's all part of our outro after each episode, and this is one of those moments because I was asked. Someone contacted me, or someone spoke to me actually, and said about doing one, which I've used as my note heading as "Don't judge a book by its cover."
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was a girl called Lisa.
Of course, I'm immediately thinking to myself, I'm actually very good at judging things by their cover because I used to buy albums by looking at the album cover and think, I like the look of that, I'm going to buy it.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, it's a good topic. It is a good topic, and there's certainly a lot to it. And I think it rung true for me. I suppose we've all been guilty, especially with people, judging them wrongly. But I think during my time in recovery, my eyes have been very much open to that with the broad depth of people that we have come through the doors. Yeah,
I would think addiction is probably one area where people make wild misjudgments of people, of others, by just looking at them and assuming that they know who they are and what they're like and so on.
Yeah, they do. But before we start and get on to that, a couple of points. Got a bit of feedback from last week's episode. Quite a groundswell of opinion saying that how much people liked the grids on the inside of wrapping paper. That came back to me, and everyone has sort of agreed that it's a very good idea.
No, when you say everyone, you mean a couple of people have mentioned it.
Loads, absolutely, tons, mate. A good two. In fact, one person, he did send me a picture of him wrapping a Prezi just before Crimbo, and that was, and there were some grids on the inside of the paper. And another thing that came back about Love Actually, several people said, "Oh yeah, I like that film. It's a great film." And I know you ridiculed it.
I didn't know. I didn't ridicule it, did I? I said it was unbelievably cheesy, which is not. I mean, I like cheese. As you know, I double ordered cheese over Christmas, which was an error. But I don't think you can conclude that saying something is cheesy is, a pejorative. There's stuff that happens in it which is so far-fetched. It's ridiculous.
Well, it is, and I think that's the That's the charm of the film. That's for sure.
No, that's it. You championing Christmas films when last week you were being particularly Scrooge-like. You couldn't even. No, that's the only one you could think of, Love Actually.
And that is the only one I've watched. Yeah, that's for sure. So I have limited knowledge in that area. But also, I remember actually, talk about having a pop at me about things. You pulled me up on the Big Bang extract that I used last week as well, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Because you, as far as I was concerned, you missed out the absolute, the most important aspect of that episode.
Well, yeah, I didn't expect you to watch the episode, to be honest. But you realised then what you did when you did watch it, that I took it out of context, really, to suit my narrative.
Actually, the truth is, I didn't just think, okay, I'll go and watch it. But when I mentioned it to my daughter, who's seen all of the episodes of Big Bang Theory probably 2 or 3 times, she remembered that episode, and she said, she said, this is what happens at the end of that, and then she got it up and showed it to me.
Right. Okay.
And I thought, oh, you sneaky bastard. I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what you thought.
Yeah, it is what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what did actually happen at the end of that scene? Let's tell the listener, shall we?
Yeah, go on then. I can't remember now. I blocked that bit
out. What happened was he realised that this theory of reciprocity was a load of nonsense, and he gave her a hug, which is just showing your gratitude for someone's kindness, which was the entire premise of my argument.
Well, yeah, he didn't. He didn't say anything about the reciprocity being wrong. He just said that a hug was worthwhile as well. So I think you're straining it to make it fit your narrative, and I think we better move on before we come to virtual blows.
Right.
So should we get back to the subject matter?
Yeah, go on then.
Yes, I mean, I did some research on this.
Obviously.
And I did listen back to our previous episode on assumptions as well. But in reality, and it goes back to what you were saying about the album covers as well, really, book publishers really do try and make a cover interesting. Because it's quite difficult, isn't it, when you go into a bookshop to carefully read right through it to give you an idea of whether it's going to be right. You look at the comments on the back, don't you?
Yeah.
And I think that it did come from that this idiom of not judging a book by its cover did come from exactly that position, where people were finding that they were drawn into a book and they'd buy it because the cover looked interesting.
Yeah,
probably a bit like the Toto albums and stuff that you bought in the past. You thought, oh, that's good. And when you got it home, you must be sorely disappointed when you popped it on your record player.
Actually, that would be one band, along with Boston, that I don't think the covers would have attracted me at all.
That's even worse than you actually liked the music. That's even more worrying. But we move on from that. So other sort of synonyms to that idiom, if you like, that we all know don't judge a book by its cover, and we all probably know that all that glitters is not gold, and looks can be deceiving. And I think it's very, very true, isn't it, in our sort of a swipe right, swipe left society that we've become. We've very much sort of become fixated on the visual impact.
You're not on Tinder, are you?
No, I found that particular quote somewhere, but I understand it is from dating apps. Yeah. Is it just Tinder or all that?
I don't know. That's true, isn't it? Because it's very.
Yeah, you can edit a word in to make it sound like you know what you're talking about at the time. But superficial, I think, is probably the word you're looking for.
That's right. Yeah, everything is too many things are judged superficially, aren't they?
They are.
We can't be bothered to get down into the meat of stuff.
We can't, and I think it's strange that you mentioned we mentioned earlier on about in addiction, how certainly in recovery I've come across so many different types of people that you wouldn't ever expect to be in that sort of situation. And it's sort of strange that many of us in active addiction go through these great lengths for not to fit into that stereotype that we built up in our own mind about what a stereotypical alcoholic looks like. And we go to great lengths, as we've mentioned in our previous episode, about sort of rotating the shops we go to buy our alcohol. So other people, so we we try and make the impression to other people that we haven't got a drink issue, and preloading before we go out. All these things we put into place to try and change the way that people perceive us, so that we won't be judged. And I think obviously in active addiction, you eventually give that up anyway. Don't worry, just stay indoors as much as you possibly can and just pop out to get your drinks or your drug of choice.
But what you're highlighting there is that one of the most destructive ways in which we judge a book by its cover is with ourselves.
I think that's right, and that's what I was trying to illustrate there. That it's not just the way we look at other people, but it's the way we do look inwardly and put on. We've talked about putting on masks and that in the past, but certainly with when you're in active addiction, it's a 24/7 issue.
Yeah, because the reality with that, going to different shops and buying alcohol from different shops, although obviously if you went into the same shop every day and bought a bottle of vodka or whatever, I expect the shopkeeper probably would form an opinion of you.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't necessarily be as negative an opinion of you as the opinion you have of yourself.
Well, exactly. Yeah, I know you build it up, that's for sure. Yeah. You're terrified of people thinking that you've got this drink issue when you know you have, and everyone else knows you have, but you don't connect the two.
Yeah, exactly. Which is it's that view that you have of yourself, which is probably the most debilitating.
It is, and I think some great examples of not judging a book by its cover. I'm going to talk about another film here, actually.
Have you watched another one?
Yeah, I have watched this one actually. Julia Roberts, remember her in Pretty Woman?
I do, yeah.
And she was terribly judged, wasn't she, because of her profession and the way she dressed when she went into shops, and all of a sudden she had a load of money and goes back into the same shop and gets treated completely differently. Because she was judged by the way she was dressed and the way she behaved on her first trip into there.
I've never seen Pretty Woman, I don't think.
Oh, right, okay. Well, that's
too popular. It's too popular.
It is a very popular film. Yeah. Have you seen that YouTube clip of Ronaldo when he goes out in disguise and starts kicking a football about in the street?
Yeah, I think I have seen that, yeah.
Yeah, and no one really wants to think he's just a bit of a hobo, because he's got a sort of a wig and a false beard on and that sort of thing, kicks around. There's only one little boy that decides to kick a football around with him, and then he takes his disguise off, and he's absolutely flooded with people. And now everyone wants to know him, everyone wants to see him. And another one has just come to mind actually. Susan Boyle on Britain's Got Talent. Just exceptional talent.
Did she play football in the street then as well?
She didn't know, but I suspect she wouldn't have had many people come up to her and do that, but she would now if she took a ball out, wouldn't she?
Yeah, probably. Although the Ronaldo thing is like those both ends of that spectrum are judging a book by its cover, aren't they? Because when he goes out, he's dressed, scruffily like a homeless guy. Nobody pays him any attention. Then when he takes his disguise off and everybody can see it's Ronaldo, they're still judging a book by its cover.
They are, yeah.
He's not more valuable as a human being just because he's good at kicking a football around.
True. Oh, indeed. Talking about Britain's Got Talent, do you remember Paul Potts?
Yeah, wasn't he an opera singer?
He was an opera singer, yeah. You remember he sort of shuffled on stage in an oversized suit, and is an absolute genius when it comes to singing opera.
Have you ever shuffled on stage in an oversized suit?
I've shuffled on stage many a time. I don't think I've ever worn a suit. I might have worn a suit on stage from time to time, yeah.
Well, the funny thing about Julia Roberts, mentioning her, I think this is right. The other judging a book by its cover situation that she would have been involved in was, didn't she marry Lyle Lovett? I think I'm getting that right. Lyle Lovett do you know who Lyle Lovett is?
I do, yeah. He's a sort of a country and western singer, or he's a singer anyway. He's a singer-songwriter chap, isn't he?
Yeah, but he's not, how can we put this? He's no oil painting. Let's put it that way.
So you're judging. No, exactly, yeah. You're using the same.
No, I'm not judging. I'm just saying that most people would have said, what on earth is Julia Roberts doing with Lyle Lovett? Because that seems like a very odd match. But the match that, the judgment that people were making was purely on the basis of what they could see. It was nothing at all to do with who those two people were. I mean, obviously in the end they got divorced, so it makes my point rather moot. But anyway.
Yeah, but she did see rather than his looks. Yeah,
correct. She saw further than his looks, which obviously it's a good job that some women do. Otherwise, you and I would never have been with anybody, would we?
Well, absolutely right. We would have still been virgins, wouldn't we, mate? Actually, I've lost the link there. I was going to go on to my next bit there, but I've sort of...
Have I thrown you off?
Yeah, you have, because I was going to talk about Pol Pot's.
Oh.
And then my notes have said, it said not to be confused with Pol Pot, the head of the Cambodian Khmer Rouge.
Now, he's probably someone that you probably could judge by the cover, couldn't you?
You could. I remember, I think it was Ricky Gervais, wasn't it, talking about him in stand-up on one occasion. Because Pol Pot, he loved sort of mass genocide, didn't he? And he didn't like anyone being more intellectual than him. And the way he judged people on their intellect is whether they wore glasses or not.
Really?
So, yeah. Ricky Gervais was saying, well, if these people were that intelligent, they'd take them off when they saw him coming. They just sort of squints at him and say, all right, Paul, how's it going? You know, when people take their glasses off and their eyes are all struggling to focus on you, aren't they? They'd be like that. And the link there was, I was going to mention Ricky Gervais, and then, you know, Gervais being a French name, I was going to lead on to then the French novelist Marcel Proust. Well, I like this quote from Marcel Proust was, it sums up what we're talking about, really. And he said, we pack the physical outline of the creature we see with all the ideas we've already formed about him. Which, you know, it's looking at, which is exactly that, really, isn't it? We have preconceived ideas just by looking at someone. And so we can, and also that would happen. We'd see someone else perhaps similar, and then transfer those ideas we've already formed about that style of person onto someone else.
Yeah, I think that's particularly true if there is something notable physically about you. I was listening to Desert Island Discs the other day, and Richard Osman was on it.
I like him.
Yeah, Richard Osman is, 6'7", I think he is.
Yeah, he's very tall.
Yeah, and his son is also very tall. And he was talking about how one of the things he taught his son was to kind of own his size, so that when he goes into a room, he said, when you're this big, when you go into a room, people will either look at you and say, blimey, look at that bloke, he looks awkward. Or they'll look at you and see someone who recognises that they're big, but they're okay with it. You know, because that in that sort of situation, when you are so noticeable, you almost can't avoid people making judgments about who you are. So then you're in this situation where you kind of have to, as far as you possibly can, try to curate the first impression that they have of you until it gets to the point where they can, you know you more personally.
That's right. I remember my dad saying he'd gone to work out in America, and they were opening up a new factory out there. He was going over there to oversee it. And he said, this American guy come up to him. Do you know how tall my dad was? He's just about 6'5". And he came up to him and said, oh, you're tall. You must be in control here. You've got this all under control. He just assumed because of his physical size that he was able to maintain some sort of good order in the place.
Yeah. Well, we know that, don't we? Because you and I are both tall, and you know that your height can be a blessing and a curse. It can be a curse because it's difficult for you to not be noticed.
Yeah.
But it's a blessing in as much as, if you are able to use it with confidence, it's very useful. And of course, it's very good for seeing other people at gigs.
And at football matches.
You're not allowed to mention football. That's twice you've mentioned football. I'll let the first one go, but I'm not letting that one go.
Okay.
Yellow card.
You've used a football analogy there as well. But shall we move on? Actually, I was going to go on to say, my favourite website, psychologytoday.com.
Yeah, well, it's one of your favourite websites.
One of my favourites, yeah. Well, I was looking at it to see what they said about, judging book by its cover and that sort of thing. And what they have got on there, I'm just going to read out a short extract from one of their blogs on there. It said, we all carry around with us conclusions we draw on about other people through which we filter everything they say and do. Certainly, over time, a person's actual personality and character alter these conclusions. I messed that up a bit there, didn't I? It completely ruined it. But even then, our conclusions often remain highly biased.
Yeah. So the point being that we find it difficult to get past our initial assumptions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's true, isn't it? Because with some people, if you develop a very strong opinion of them, even as you get to know them, it becomes a case of the more you know about them mitigating the impression you already have of them. It's like you're trying to weigh up this real evidence against something that was imagined in your own mind.
Yeah, and there's another point they made on that particular blog also, that we seem to err mostly on the side of overestimation. For example, we always think people are far worse or far better than they actually are, which is, I hadn't really thought about it before, but yeah, I think we concentrate on those points, don't we?
Yeah, they're both about our own insecurity, aren't they?
Do you reckon? Go on, explore that one then, or expand on that.
Well, the imagined benefit to imagining people are worse than they actually are is it makes us feel better about ourselves.
Okay.
And if we imagine people are much better than they actually are, that's really about our own sense of insecurity and self-esteem, isn't it?
It probably is. I mean, we've known people that sort of hero worship others, don't we? That will latch on to other people.
Might share a pizza with someone.
Well, exactly. They'll hang on to their every word. and we always used to joke, myself and my two brothers, we used to joke with each other. We used to accuse people of being, like your brother's hero. Say, oh yeah, he's your hero, or she's your hero, and it was exactly that, because they were sort of seemed to be placing too much emphasis on this person's good points.
Why is that, I wonder? Is that because we see something in someone else that we feel is underdeveloped in ourselves? I think that's probably part of it, isn't it?
It is. Do you think it's part of... I know we've talked about the different types of self-esteem in the past. Do you think sometimes it's sort of reflective self-esteem if you're hanging around with people? I know people that like to hang around... I know 2 or 3 people that would prefer to hang around with people that have got a lot of money, because it sort of gives them a sense of self-worth which they didn't have or don't have. Yeah,
I'd say that's more comparative, isn't it? It's more. I think it is. If you hang around with someone who's got a lot of money, you're going to compare yourself with them, and you're going to recognise that you don't have perhaps what they have, but perhaps there's a kind of comfort in feeling as if you fit into that world. Maybe. Yeah, I think so. Maybe there's a bit of reflected self-esteem and a bit of comparative, but
yeah, I just think perhaps it's reflective because those people that like to hang around with people of money, for example, they like to think that other people think that they're in the same clique as them.
Right. Yeah. Could be.
So they'll put themselves forward as an image of being, of being wealthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, how do we stop ourselves doing this? How do we stop ourselves?
A part of what makes it difficult to change is that quite often it's unconscious.
Yeah.
Quite often you're doing it, you don't realise you're doing it. So I think the first challenge is to notice yourself, recognise yourself doing it.
Yeah, and I think that does lead into this first point I've got here, when we should look more sceptically at our own beliefs about someone rather than what the evidence that contradicts those beliefs. So, to have a look at ourselves when we're making these judgments, in the words of Frank Butcher, have a word with yourself, pet. Anyway, going back to what we were talking about after we drifted off into EastEnders talk, yes, these ways that we can perhaps stop ourselves from doing this. Another point that came up is to remember that people are not only more nuanced than we typically acknowledge, but they also change more often than we realise. And you should allow your opinion of someone to change also. I think we can get stuck, can't we? We can have an opinion, we form an opinion about someone, and that's it. It's very difficult to then change it, isn't it? But I think we should be more open to doing so.
Yeah, we think that about our own personalities. Quite a lot of the time we consider our personality as being a fixed point, but of course it isn't. We're changing all the time. The answer to the question, who am I, is different all the time. Never stay still. So on that basis, the idea of someone else judging us and having a fixed idea of us is absolutely ludicrous.
It is really. I mean, I know we talked about it, I think one of our very early episodes about a leopard doesn't change its spots. And I think we discussed that issue because, I see people change dramatically all the time in recovery. We don't actually We don't have any real leopards turn up to the group, obviously, but I see a lot of people.
Would you let them in if they did?
Well, if they're on a lead or something, you don't want to get mauled, do you? We like it to be a safe environment for people to share their worries.
Presumably you definitely wouldn't let them in if they'd been drinking.
No, they'd be erratic, wouldn't they? A pissed leopard is definitely not somebody you want to encounter. Yeah. But I see that change all the time. I really do. And dramatic change. So if I judge the people that come in and start off all defensive, especially if they're still actually drinking or just waiting for detox or whatever, completely different person to the one after detox and started to work on themselves.
It's not so much stopping ourselves from making judgments about people, because I think we'd all find that impossible. But it's about recognizing when we've done it and then questioning it.
Yeah.
It's more about being open-minded enough to recognize that your first impression is really about the way you've been conditioned, the experiences you've had in your life, and that, the assumptions that you've made about that person are not necessarily accurate.
They are. And I think a good illustration of that is I was at a wedding recently, and there's a chap sitting on the table I was at I'd never met before. And he had facial tattoos. He was huge anyway. He was 6 foot plus. He was very, very, very muscly. But he had facial tattoos, and that it was the facial tattoos that made me judge him almost straight away. Yeah, about he was going to be a difficult person. He was going to be thuggish. And then when I got to know him, he was probably one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Absolute giant, gentle giant, and as it turned out, he was in recovery too. So I think we had an instant bond. But I saw him outside the wedding before we went into the actual service. And I thought, oh, God, I'm going to steer clear of that chap. He looks trouble.
You didn't think he was the vicar then?
He looked very un-vicar-like. But then again, so did Dawn French in Vicar of Dibley. And, you know how that one played out.
So really, she's got facial tattoos?
No, not really, no. But she just doesn't look like a vicar, does she?
No, I suppose not.
I think we've got to allow people to surprise us, haven't we? And to contradict what we think about them. And be happy to work within that framework, if you like, that people will change. There are ways in which people will consciously make the effort to change for the better, and also people naturally change as they get older.
No, I just wanted to say it as another example of the need to embrace uncertainty. That's what that's about, really. If you're avoiding judging someone by the look of them or some other impression that you've got of them, then what you're doing is embracing uncertainty. You're recognizing that you don't have all the answers and that you have to be okay with that in life.
Yes, we do. We do. And there's sort of a quote that I want to just read out to you, if I may. It's not, it's not attributed to anyone, but I quite like it. And it says, the package in which people come to us may be attractive or repulsive, but if we exert a little effort, just like opening a book and browsing its contents before deciding whether to buy it or not, we can see past their visual biases towards the truth. This way we'll be far less likely to exclude a quality person from our lives. So that's about it, really, mate. I was going it's time to go on to our gratitude list. And I left mine blank this week because I wasn't sure what was going to be happening over Christmas.
Oh.
But again, it's pretty easy because I left it blank because I knew I'd be spending Boxing Day with my 2 daughters.
Lovely.
And my oldest daughter's partner and my little grandson. And I knew I was going to be grateful for that, whatever turned up. But I was also grateful for someone providing me Christmas dinner this year, which was absolutely superb.
Oh, who was that then?
It was you, mate. Yes, thank you. So I was quite grateful.
Very welcome.
Even though I don't embrace Christmas in its truest form, there's some lovely bits to be grateful for.
Yeah, I thought it was a bit unfestive of you to come around on Christmas Day with an I Hate Jesus T-shirt on.
I don't think I have one of those. I would never wear anything like that. But I think that the Christmas message is as you wish to interpret it.
Yeah. Have you got your Sideways T-shirt on?
I haven't got it on today, mate. No, I haven't. But I've tried it on and I like it. It seems weird having a T-shirt with my sort of distorted face on the front, but yeah, it's
well, it's pretty weird having to look at your distorted face all the time.
Well, exactly, but so yeah, I've got the better end of it, really, haven't I?
Yeah, right. So I'll tell you what I'm grateful for. I'm grateful that the days gradually are getting longer.
Yeah,
I'm grateful for. Unfortunately, they seem to get long. I don't really know how this works. I expect there's a good reason for it, but they seem to get longer from the other end of the day, don't they? It seems to stay light later. Why is that happening? Someone will be able to explain that to me. I could do with a little bit more light in the mornings because it's a bit of a pain taking a short-sighted dog out in the dark. But it is nice. It does feel like when we're over that winter solstice that you at least, and particularly when you get past Christmas and certainly into the new year, although I know January can be a bit blue, but it does feel as if you're within touching distance of, brighter, better weather, which is nice. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for nature, really. That's what I'm grateful for.
Okay. That's quite a sweeping item to put on your gratitude list, but I agree. Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. So moving on to the normal Spotify search I do at this point of the episode, when I put into the search bar there, I typed in "You can't judge a book by its cover." I got a track came up which was exactly that, but I couldn't really put it on because it was by Thomas and Friends. So it was Thomas the Tank Engine.
Why couldn't you put it on?
Well, because it's a rubbish song. But I quite liked the name of the album it was from, which was called Thomas's Train Yard Tracks, which I thought was quite
very good.
Clever.
Yeah. It's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think you should have put that on there because, then you've got something for all age groups, haven't you?
True. Well, I might put it on there as well anyway. It's not too late.
I've got a suggestion for something to put on I know I'm not allowed to put anything on the Spotify playlist, but I've got.
You're more than welcome, mate. I've never excluded you from that. It's just your own assumption.
No, I've just made an assumption. I've judged you by your cover, which is selfish and
nasty bastard, horrible bloke. Yeah,
exactly. So go on. What have you put on?
Well, what I've put on another track that's called "Don't Judge a Book by Its Cover." It's by a Canadian girl. Called Jaden Riley. She was born in 2006.
Wow.
She's 15 years old. Extraordinary voice. And a great track. And I thought I'm going to put that on because there was another one that I quite liked called Hoovers Don't Judge, People Do, which was a bit of a weird title for a song. But there's a lot of truth in that. Yeah,
there is a lot of truth in that. It's an odd observation, but an accurate one. Okay, good. So we're done.
I think we're done, mate. Yeah.
So I suppose that only remains for us to wish all of our listeners a very well. What would you say? Would you say a happy New Year? I always go for a peaceful New Year. I don't know why.
Yeah, but yeah, peaceful and safe New Year.
A peaceful and safe New Year. Right. Yeah. Good.
Are we happy with that?
So don't make a noise and don't do anything dangerous.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then everything will be fine. All right, mate. I'll see you on the other side then.
Take it easy.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work or sort through the extensive archive of past episodes, just visit grahamlandywellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us if you have a question or if there's something you'd like us to cover. But most of all, we want to tell you how grateful we are that you come and listen. And we ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.